Hello, this is Culture Jumpers, stories of making the jump from one cultural context to another. I'm Lionel Nicolau.
And I'm Ilana Whites.
And we have a new recurring segment on the show. So for this segment, we're calling it, Does This Word Have an English Equivalent? Does this word have an English equivalent? Or DTW.
I'm sorry, what? That's not what we're calling it.
DTWHEE. Does this word have an English equivalent? DTW.
Stop trying to make fetch happen, Gretchen.
Yeah. We're making it happen. We're making it happen. Okay, so this is how it's going to work. Each time we have this segment, we're going to bring a word or a phrase from a non-English language and explain what it means and how it's used. And then the two of us are going to use our collective knowledge of the English language.
Our expansive linguistics expertise.
We have like 70 years of English experience between the two of us. So we use our collective knowledge to see whether or not the word has an English equivalent.
Coming to an SAT near you very soon.
So I'll start with the first one. You know, it's API Heritage Month, so we're going to start with one from one of my languages, Chinese. So the first word is Jia You. That's the Cantonese version, or Jia You in Mandarin. And so the literal translation of Jia You is add oil.
Like a brownie mix? Like just add oil?
No, like add oil, like add oil to a can or add oil to a car. So it's usually used at sporting events like a cheer. It's like, add oil. Whereas we would say something like, oh, go team. They would use Jia You, like, you can do it. So the origin of it was, well, I found like two potential sources. One is the explanation that I'm more partial to because it involves where my dad's side of the family is from, Macau. And when they used to have the Macau Grand Prix, which is like their Formula One style race through the city, the crowds would chant like Jia You, like add oil, and like they think it may have originated from there because it meant something closer to like, oh, step on the gas kind of thing. And so that's how it became like this athletic event cheer. But it's actually... I feel
like you're building this up to be some really profound thing, and I already have my answer. And it's gonna really pop your bubble.
What? Okay, but it's also more flexible than that. So you would also use it as words of encouragement, like if somebody is about to have a big presentation or if they're about to, go into an exam, you would say Jia You or Jia You in order to encourage them, kind of like saying like, oh, you have my support. Or maybe they're going through a really difficult time, like they're going through like a breakup or something.
So basically in English, now we're cooking with gas.
What is that?
Some English expertise you have. This has fallen apart very quickly.
No.
It's called an idiom.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what those are?
I know what an idiom is. What is now we're cooking with gas?
Cooking.
Oh, now we're cooking with gas? What is that?
An idiom.
Yeah, but what does that mean?
Basically, like, now we've got it. Now we're getting there. It's like the same concept that you've just been talking about.
Kind of. What are some other situations, like how you would use that in real life?
Like if you're working on like a group project or something and you have a couple false starts and you're sort of stumbling at the beginning and then you find your groove and your rhythm and everybody sort of gets into their flow and making progress. You'd be like, well, now we're cooking with gas.
Okay, I guess I can kind of see that.
It's like kind of, it's like literally the same.
No, it's not exactly the same.
It's not as succinct because very few things are a one-to-one equivalent, especially when you're talking about languages that are like concept-based as opposed to word-based.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, you wouldn't use that like, to cheer on the home team, Would
I
you?
mean, you're not going to start like a wave chant with it at the
Well,
stadium,
that's what
but
I'm
if you're
saying.
watching
That's
the
why it's
game at
not-
home,
You would you,
like if you're watching a football game and the first kickoff is like terrible and they fumble the first couple of passes and it's just like they're already on third down within 20 seconds and you're like, oh, this is going to be a disaster. And then they find their groove and it starts to like, they start making progress down the field and they're completing the passes and, you know, they end up getting a touchdown. You'll be like, well, now we're cooking with gas. It was a rough start, but we got it now.
So is the usage of that phrase really just limited to like you're going from like a negative place to finally a positive place?
I mean, it doesn't have to be totally negative, but it's like you start out maybe unsure of something and then you find your footing along the way.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that Gaia was... There isn't really like one word that has the kind of flexibility that it can go from like, oh, you're just encouraging someone. Even just generally, like they don't have to have had a setback. Just in my memory of a lot of sports, it seems like a lot of cheers are very team specific. Like in football, for us, you know, it's like, oh, go Birds, or like, you know, EAGLES, Eagles.
This
Yeah.
was all a ruse so that you could just do that chant.
No, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's, you can kind of do that chant at like any time.
Yes, but you could also say go team at any time. There are the generic versions of it.
But does anyone really say go team like in real life? Like,
I mean, for those of us who don't care about sports ball, yes. Go red shirts.
The other explanation, which I wasn't really able to verify the source of, was actually like a lot older. It was like 19th century. Like some teacher was noticing his students working late into the night, and so he would ask his assistants to add more oil to their lamps so that they could keep
Burning
working.
the midnight oil.
Yes.
Literally none of these are exclusive to China.
Well, no. But burning the midnight oil means something completely different. That's not like a word.
Does it?
That's not words of encouragement.
Yes, it is.
Every time I've heard that phrase, you say, oh, burning the midnight oil, huh? Like you're working late.
Yeah, which is like, kudos to you.
Not necessarily.
No one says that and then it's like, dude, go home.
I don't know. I feel like I've said it. It's like, oh, yeah, stop working.
I mean, that's because you're trying to reflect a work-life balance attitude, but like the original intent of burning the midnight oil is to signify working late into the night.
All right, so have we determined that this word
That
has
you're
an
trying
English...
too hard? Yes, we have.
What? Why am I trying too hard?
Like, are you literally looking for a single word to encapsulate the concept?
Yeah, or something very close to it.
But is that even fair when you're talking about a language like Chinese?
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
It's like, when you write it out, is it a single character or is it like multiple characters? And even a single character, I feel like expresses an entire concept.
It's just two characters. The first character
Well,
is
but
to
that's
add.
not one word.
Huh? Is word or phrase?
No, you're moving the goalpost to use another sports metaphor.
At the very beginning, I said word or phrase, and so it's like jia, which is add, and then yo, which is oil.
Well,
oil.
then, if you could use a phrase, I have given you my phrases.
So the first phrase was, what was it again? It was
Cooking with gas.
cooking with gas. So I guess that's kind of, sort of. It's a candidate.
It's okay to admit you're wrong.
No, not wrong. I don't think it's that exact. So,
Huzzah! Like, what do you...
all right. This has been an episode of Does This Word Have an English Equivalent?
This has been an episode of, wow, this segment is a shit show. So, since it's also Jewish American Heritage Month,
Oh.
because our people are the same, or we don't warrant our own month, so we have to share. I figured now would be a good time to do a Yiddish word and see if there is an English equivalent.
Okay.
So Yiddish, for anyone who doesn't know, is like an Eastern European language spoken by Ashkenazi Jews. And it's kind of a mixture of German and Hebrew with some like Slavic and other European languages mixed in. And basically before Hebrew was a widely spoken language when Israel was founded, a lot of Jewish people in Europe spoke Yiddish in their houses. So when I was trying to come up with a Yiddish word to quiz you on, I realized that it's really hard to do because there are already so many Yiddish loanwords in English.
Like what?
So like maven, like a know-it-all.
Maven
is Yiddish.
A Yiddish word?
Schmuck.
That one tracks. Okay.
Shtick.
Yeah, okay, I could see that.
Glitch apparently is Yiddish. I did not know that.
What? Like glitch in the Matrix?
Yep.
What?
Klutz.
That one I can see.
And schlep.
Schlep I never actually heard until I met you.
Really?
Yeah. Like, you and your mom always use schlep. Like, I figured it out from context, but I'd never heard that word before.
I mean, I definitely know my mom uses it. I feel like I don't use it very often.
You use it a lot, too.
If you say so. All right. So, I think I found one word. We'll see how this goes.
Okay. All right. I'm ready.
All right. So, the word is Plotz.
Plotz. Like P-L-O-T-S.
P-L-O-T-Z.
T-Z. Okay.
So, literally, it is to explode, burst, or shatter. And this can be like a physical object, but it's more commonly used to describe an intense emotional state. So, some examples of how you would use the word be like, oh, my son Joey is graduating from Harvard. I could Plotz.
Okay.
Or, I can't believe it, I'm ready to Plotz. I just bought this car and some idiot scratched it in the parking lot.
Okay, so it can be used in both positive and negative.
Yes, and that's why I picked it, because I feel like there's no direct English equivalent for like a catch-all extreme emotional state. Like you could be like, oh, I'm bursting with pride, or I'm going to explode with anger, but there's no like all-encompassing thing. Like you would have to say like, oh, I'm so happy I could burst. If you just said, right, oh, I'm about to burst with no context, people would be like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, what are you, constipated or something? What? It can also mean like fainting from emotion. Mm-hmm. So like, use your imagination.
Right. Okay, so I feel like there are some words for this. Let me think.
I don't want to get sued, so I'm going to cut it there.
I feel like I'm going to shit bricks.
No. First of all, that's a phrase. And second of all, that's usually a negative connotation.
Okay.
I'm so happy I could shit my pants right now. Like, that's not a thing.
Am I allowed to ask ChatGPT?
No. If you do that, your computer will Plotz, because I will throw it out the window.
No. Okay.
Like if you need a visual explainer of the word Plotz, picture Elmer Fudd when Bugs Bunny has outsmarted him and he's like steaming from his ears.
Right. And that's in like the negative context.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, okay, there's like, I feel like I'm going to explode. I feel like I'm going to poop myself.
Why do you keep coming back to this? Like, I feel like the closest equivalent that I can think of is the word overwhelm. But Plotz has like this extra like physicality to it that I don't think overwhelm quite gets to.
Okay, I think this is like a dirtier one, but I came.
Yes, your mother will definitely say that when you're graduating from college.
Oh, wait. Okay, I got one. So, what about I was beside myself?
It's not a single word.
What about brimming Like I was brimming with rage. That's close, right?
But brimming implies like filling up but not overflowing.
Right, like filled to the brim.
But like Plotz is like, we have spilled over. Shit is going down.
Simmering,
That's
boiling,
even less.
boiling.
Yeah, but you're not boiling happy.
Why not?
Literally no one has ever said
Boiling with laughter.
That's not a
I
thing.
was so happy you got into Harvard that I was boiling with happiness.
Yeah, no. That's no. You don't even look like you believe that halfway through your sentence.
Okay.
Just admit defeat.
Okay, fine. Plotz does not have an English equivalent.
Hooray!
All right.
I'm so happy I can Plotz.
This episode of Culture Jumpers was produced by Ilana Whites and me, Lionel Nicolau. Music and editing also by me. Let us know how we did for Does This Word Have an English Equivalent? Did we get it right? Did you think of a word that we didn't? Or maybe you have a word in your language that you think doesn't have an English equivalent. Send us a DM on Instagram or Facebook at Culture Jumpers, or leave us a voicemail at 267-667-6590 for a chance to be featured on a future episode. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Okay, Ilana wouldn't let me use ChatGPT during the episode, but I want to see what would have happened if I did. Okay, so let's pull this up here. What's an equivalent English word for plots? Okay, let's turn on this text-to-speech thing so you can hear it, and go.
There isn't a direct English equivalent for plots,
God
as it
damn
captures
it.
a specific combination of emotions and reactions, but some similar expressions or words that convey a sense of being overwhelmed or astonished include flabbergasted, stunned, and gobsmacked.